video is you're hired, now what? Because I know as a first year teacher, when I got my first teaching job, I was so ecstatic. I was so excited. And then suddenly I was extremely overwhelmed because I had so much information and I didn't even know where to start. Oftentimes new teachers focus on getting the job, and then once they get the job, they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? And that's kind of the purpose of this video. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. I have gotten so many questions about when I'm getting into my classroom, am I doing a classroom tour? And I thought it would be easiest just to kind of clear that up for you guys right now. So first of all, yes, I 100% am doing a classroom tour. I guarantee you that will be coming, but obviously I need to get in my classroom first. I need to get stuff set up, so that probably won't be happening for about another 1 or 2 weeks. I have not even seen my classroom yet, so that answers the other question. No, I have not gotten my classroom yet. However, this week I will be in my classroom. I'm not sure exactly when. I may be able to get in there earlier in the week, but by Thursday, I will definitely be in my classroom. I'm actually going to be meeting my team teachers there, and then we're going to go out to lunch and we're going to chit chat about this upcoming school year. Once I get into my classroom, I will probably give you guys a sneak peek through my weekly vlog, but you guys aren't going to see my finished classroom until I actually do my classroom tour, which, like I said, will probably be about another 2 weeks. I mentioned to you guys that I am going to meet my team teachers this week. I haven't met them in person yet, but I have talked to one of them on the phone, and we have a group message going between all of us. They seem like amazing people. It sounds like they collaborate really well together, so I'm just so excited. As I prepare for this lunch date on Thursday, I had to start writing down questions because I have 1.5 million questions to ask them. Even though I'm not a brand new teacher, I still have a ton that I'm curious about because I'm brand new to the school. I don't know the procedures at the school. I don't know how my teammates do it with the departmentalization, how they switch classes, and all that. So I actually have a ton prepared to ask them on Thursday. As I sat down and started writing these questions, I got to thinking, and I'm like, you know what? I cannot be the only person that's doing this. It actually was pretty easy for me to come up with questions because I have a couple years of experience. I know what I need to ask, but when I was a first year teacher, I had so many questions, but I didn't even know where to start because you don't know what you don't know. And there were so many things that I didn't even know to ask about my first year of teaching because I had never been in a real classroom before. I remember how I felt as a first year teacher, just feeling so lost, not even knowing where to start, needing help, but not knowing how to ask for it. And I don't want any first year teachers to have to feel like that. I know it's not a good feeling, and that's why I decided to film this video for you all. I thought it would be helpful for any first year teachers, but also for teachers like me who have teaching experience but are going to a brand new school to have a set list of questions to ask either your team teachers or your administration or even people in your district. In this video, I'm going to give you guys ideas of questions to ask if you are new at a school. Now, I did not want you guys watching this video and trying to rapidly write down all of the questions I'm mentioning. As a new teacher at a school, you have a million other things to be worrying about. So here's what I've done for you guys. I've actually put together a freebie for you guys in my TPT store. Yes, it is free. The link for it is down in the description box. You can just go and download it. It has a printout of all of the questions I'm going to go over in this video. And I did include some editable options as well because I wanted it to fit as many people's needs as possible. So this page is included. You can just print it out. And I did include a couple of blank spaces in each category so you can jot down any extra questions. I also have this with all blank lines, so you can actually print it out and just handwrite all of your questions in. And then I actually have this answers and notes page. I personally just printed mine double-sided. That way it's all in one place. So when I meet with my team teachers, I have the questions on one side and then I can take all of my notes on the other. This is included as a printout as well. But I know that not everyone has the same kinds of questions depending on your position in your school and your district. I wanted to make it editable. So I have it with these same categories, but you can edit all of the questions. I also have it so you can edit the categories, and I have a couple different layouts of the boxes. Again, if you are interested in this, the link is down in the description box. You can just go download it, print it out. I would recommend going through, reading it, and highlighting the questions that are important to you, that you really want to ask, at least at the beginning, because it can be overwhelming. I guarantee you, if you went to your admin or your team teachers and asked them every single question on here at once, they're probably gonna tell you to leave. So I would recommend prioritizing the questions that you need to know first. I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into it, start going over these questions and telling you guys why they are important. And yes, you will see me reading directly off of here. It's the whole reason that I made it. The first category of questions is school and procedures. So these are questions, once you get hired at a certain school, you're gonna want to ask admin or your team teachers just to get more information of how the school runs. So the first question is, do I have access to my classroom after hours or on weekends? I highly recommend asking this because all schools are different. Some schools you can go in on the weekends, other schools you can't because there's a security system. And the last thing you want to happen is to go and set off the security system because you're trying to go into your classroom. Does the school use a specific behavior program? Now, your school may or they may not, but it's important that you ask because whatever system you use in your own classroom, you want that to align with any program that the school uses. For example, if you are part of a PBIS school, you want to make sure that your classroom behavior plan aligns with that. My first year teaching, I created my own behavior incentive system, and then I found out that my school used Panda Bucks to help reward students for PBIS, and I had no clue, and it became really difficult to try to merge the two together. How do I report a behavior/disciplinary problem? It is really important that you ask your admin this because even though we would all love to think that we're never going to have any disciplinary problems in our classroom, that's not the reality. It will happen, and when it does happen, you want to know how to handle it ASAP. What is the dress code/attire expectations for teachers? All schools are different. I know some schools that are really casual and they allow teachers to wear jeans and t-shirts every day, and I know other schools where they require teachers to be more dressed up. So you want to make sure that going into it, you know exactly what is expected of you. What is the dress code/attire expectations for students? Make sure you know what is expected of your students because you want to make sure that they are following the dress code. At my previous school, our students had to do cap attire, which was consistent attire program. So they had to wear polos, they couldn't wear jeans, they had to wear tan, navy, or black pants or a skirt. They had to wear the polo in either white, gray, black, blue, whatever. So they had certain expectations and you want to make sure that you're aware of that. All right, the next chunk of questions all go together, so I'm just going to read them off. What are the procedures for student arrival, taking attendance, lunch, recess, and student dismissal? Unless you were lucky enough to intern in the school that you got hired at, you don't know how the school runs. You don't know what their procedures are, and it's really important going in, especially for the first day of school, that you know how the school is going to operate. What are the emergency procedures? This is probably the most important question that you could ask your admin or team teachers before the first day of school, because the last thing you want to happen is a fire drill or a tornado drill or a code red with an intruder, and you have no idea what to do with your students or where to go. That would not make you look professional at all, and honestly, it could be extremely dangerous. Make sure you know any and all emergency procedures in your school before the first day so you can keep all of your students safe. What are the procedures for sending students to the nurse? The reason I included this is because I had no idea my first year of teaching, and I've told you guys, first day of school, kid throws up, I sent him to the nurse without a pass because I didn't know anything about passes, and the kid just threw up. She sent him back to me because he didn't have a pass, and she called me and she's like, why'd you send the student? I'm like, because he threw up, can you take care of him please? And she's like, don't you have passes? Long story short, I did not have passes. I did not know the procedures for sending students to the nurse, so make sure that you ask and make sure that you know. How often do formal observations occur? And the next one kind of goes with it. How are teachers evaluated? Make sure you know if you are a new teacher, you're probably going to be observed a lot more than veteran teachers that have tenure. So make sure going into it, you know how many observations you're going to have. Are they surprise or are they planned? And how are you going to be evaluated? All right, the next two go together as well. How are field trips planned? How is field trip money collected? Now, this is not super important for the first day of school. Please do not stress yourself out. But within the first couple weeks, I would just talk to your team teachers, figure out how field trips are planned. Does one teacher take care of all of it? Do you split up the responsibilities? And then how are you actually going to collect the money? These next ones go together as well. How do I request a substitute? Do I need to submit emergency substitute plans? How do I request time off, such as personal days? Now, this is information that will probably come from your district. I know last week I was at a new teacher processing meeting and they talked to us all about requesting substitutes, but make sure that you know because you have no idea, especially at the beginning of the school year, when you might get sick. The reason I mentioned emergency subplans is because some schools do require you to submit a couple days of subplans at the beginning of the year. They hold on to them at the office just in case something happens and you can't provide plans, and you want to know about that ahead of time because my first year teaching, I had no clue, and suddenly I was told that within 3 days I had to give 2 full days of emergency subplans, and I had a million other things going on, and it was super stressful. And it's good to know if you have to request time off for personal days, just how to do that, whether it's the same as requesting a sub for a sick day or if you actually have to submit something in writing to your admin. Next question, how do I submit a problem with maintenance or technology? Just make sure you're kind of aware if you have a problem in your room, who do you contact about that? Or if you're having a problem with technology, again, who do you contact? Where are student files located? It's probably just something that you want to know within your school. It's not super important for the very beginning, but you do want to be aware of where student files are in case you have to look something up. How do I refer a student for special education or support services? You definitely want to know how to take care of your students. If you suspect that there's a problem, you want to know how you can get them the help that they need as soon as possible. And the last one for this category, what are the procedures for a parent volunteer? I'm mentioning this because at my old school, our parents had to fill out this form and it had to get get approved by the office, and they actually had to have that in order to be a chaperone for a field trip. I did not know that, so suddenly we went to go on our first field trip and I had chaperones, but they didn't have the form, and the office people were so mad at me because they were sitting there at like 7:30 in the morning trying to get the forms approved. So just know ahead of time, what do your parents have to go through in order to be a volunteer. The next category are all schedule questions. What is the set arrival and departure time for teachers, and what is the set arrival and departure time for students? Just good information to know. Is my daily schedule predetermined or discretionary? So basically, who makes your schedule? Does admin make it and then you just have to follow it, or do you actually get to make your own schedule? My first 2 years of teaching, I got to make my own schedule. I had a set lunchtime, I had set special times, and I had a set amount of time that I had to spend on reading and math and science and social studies, but I actually got to fit those in however I wanted. So I always started with math, and then I did reading in the afternoon, filled in science or social studies wherever I could fit it. However, my third year of teaching, we had new admin come in, and we no longer got to pick our schedules. They were just given to us, which was nice because we didn't have to sit down and it's like a puzzle trying to figure out your schedule. It's kind of annoying. We didn't have to do that. It was done for us, but at the same time, we didn't really have a say in when we taught the subjects. Next two kind of go together as well. How much planning time do I receive daily or weekly? What is the schedule for student specials, art, music, etc.? Schools all do it differently. I actually know some teachers who have to go with their students to specials, which is crazy to me. When my students go to specials, that's when I had my planning time. But you want to know, how much time do you get? Is it the same every day, or do you get a certain amount of time every week and it's kind of broken up? Just make sure that you know what to expect. Will I have an assistant slash paraprofessional slash aide in my classroom? At my previous school, because we were Title I and we had extra funds, we had a lot of paraprofessionals and a lot of assistants that were coming in and out of your classroom at different times during the day. So you want to know going in what you can expect. Those people were always there to help the students. So they worked in a small group or they worked one-on-one with the student. But I actually found out when I talked to my new team teachers last week, apparently we will have a TA, like a teacher's assistant, who will help us with stuff, and I'm just so excited about it. What weekly slash monthly meetings do I have to attend? I just think it's good to know this up front. How many faculty meetings do you have to attend? How many like PTA meetings do you have to attend? Or any other meetings that could possibly cut into your schedule? I personally would just want to know that up front. Is there a schedule of special events planned for the school year? Again, I just think this is good to know. Is there like a master calendar that will tell you about assemblies or parties or any other special events going on in the school? Do I have any additional duties, lunch, recess, dismissal, etc.? This is just good to know because all schools do it differently. I personally have always had to go outside for recess with my students, but I know there are some schools that have recess monitors. There also are schools where the teachers have to monitor lunch, which is crazy to me because I've never had to monitor lunch. So just ask your team teachers or ask your admin so you know what to expect. I have a feeling this is going to be a really long video. Next category is lesson plan and curriculum. All right, the first two go together. Is there a particular lesson plan format? Do lesson plans have to be turned in or submitted? Schools are all different. There are schools where you have to turn in lesson plans. There's schools where your admin never even looks at your lesson plans. So ask them, know what to expect up front. And if you do have to turn in your lesson plans, make sure you ask if there's a particular format that they expect you to use. Next two go together as well. What standards are used for each subject? What curriculum is used for each subject? So the standards are what you're teaching, the actual content and the skills. The curriculum is how you're going to teach it and what resources you're going to use. Personally, where I am, we use Common Core state standards for math and reading. We use next generation of science standards for science, and then we have state standards for social studies. What standards you use for each subject are probably mandated by your state, but when it comes to the curriculum, that can be completely up to your district. I've looked a little bit at the curriculum for my new county, and it's all stuff that they personally have created. It's not like a national curriculum. So make sure that you know what materials you're going to have and what resources you're going to be able to access. Is there a curriculum map? This one is really important for the beginning of the year, especially as a new teacher, because you want to be able to map out your year and you want to long-term plan, and you need a curriculum map in order to do that. So there may be one provided for you, or you actually might have to make up your own. Can I supplement the curriculum with additional materials? I highly suggest you ask this. It's just good information to know up front. Some schools are super strict and they want you to use strictly the curriculum and nothing else. Or if you're going to use something else, it has to get approved by admin. Other schools are super lenient and they say, you were hired, you know what you're doing, do what's best for your kids, pick other materials that you know are going to benefit them. Are there opportunities for team/grade level planning? You want to make sure that you know when you're going to be able to plan with your team because you want to be able to collaborate as much as possible. You may be lucky and all have specials at the same time, therefore your planning's all together and you get to collaborate then. Or you may have like grade level PLC meetings meetings where you all meet up, but make sure you know when you're gonna be able to plan with your team. I should have thought this through. I should not have gone through all of these questions. This was a horrible idea. If you stuck with me this far, you deserve like a cookie or something because I had no idea it was gonna be this long. The next category is grading and assessment. How many grades need to be collected for each subject area? You may have a total that you have to meet for the entire term or quarter, or you might have like a weekly total that you have to hit. I know previously in my old school, we had to have 3 grades per subject area per week. So just know what your expectations are going into it. How are grades kept? A computer program or physical? Just make sure you know how your gradebook is going to work. Do you have to keep your own gradebook? Do you have to keep it online, or do you have to do both? The next two go together. What is the grading scale? Are the grade categories / weights predetermined or discretionary? You want to make sure you know what the grading scale is like because it could be different for different subject areas, even within the same grade. When I taught 2nd grade, we gave letter grades A, B, C, D, or E for math, reading, language, and spelling. And then we gave O's, S's, NI's, and U's. So outstanding, satisfactory, needs improvement, or unsatisfactory for science, social studies, handwriting, behavior traits, work habits, social habits, and there probably were other ones, but we actually had different grading scales for different subjects. You also want to ask about the category. So if you have classwork, formative assessments, homework, participation, whatever the categories are, do you get to pick them or are they already predetermined for you? And then what are the weights? So what percentage is homework? What percentage is classwork? What percentage is formal assessment? You definitely want to know going into it. The next two go together. How and when are report cards completed? What are the expectations for report card comments? Just get a little bit of information so that when the time comes for you to do your first report card, you're not completely lost. The next 4 all go together. It's all about like standardized assessments. How are students assessed for grade level benchmarks? Do I have access to these assessments before the scheduled date? Which skills / standards are covered for each assessment? How are the assessments graded and how is the data analyzed? So basically just get information so you know what assessments you're gonna have to give to your students. I was shocked when I first started teaching 2nd grade of how many assessments my students had to take. People always told me, oh, 2nd grade is great because they don't get tested as much. No, my poor kids were taking close to like 20 standardized assessments throughout the whole school year. So just know what you're getting into with that, know what to expect, get a little bit of information about the assessments and if you have access to them. Next category is classroom and supplies. This is the fun stuff. What materials must be visible in my room? Just make sure you ask. I know previously at my school we had certain posters that had to be displayed in our classroom, so just make sure that you're aware. Next two go together. Are there parameters for classroom decor due to codes? Are there materials that are not allowed in the classroom? I would suggest asking about this before you go out shopping for your classroom because it would stink if you got decorations and then could not even use them because of fire codes or rules within the building, so make sure that you know what to expect. I know there are schools where they cannot hang anything from the ceiling, they can't have rugs because it's a fire hazard, they can't have curtains, they can't have anything on their doors, they can only have a certain percentage of their walls covered. There are so many rules, especially now. I feel like they're getting more strict with these things, so make sure you reach out to your admin and ask. What are the expectations for displaying standards / objectives / essential questions? All schools are different, all admins are different. Some require you to have the actual standard, like word for word posted. Some just require you to have like kid-friendly terms of an objective. Some require you to have an essential question, so make sure that you know what they expect of you. The next two go together. What technology is available in my classroom? What technology is available in the school to access / rent? You want to know what technology is in your classroom. So do you have a laptop? Do you have a desktop? Do you have a projector? Do you have a smartboard? Do you have laptops or iPads? But you also want to know what technology is in the school. So do you have a school computer lab? Do you have a laptop cart that you can rent out? Do you have iPads that you can rent out? Just make sure that you ask so you know what's available for you. Next two also go together. Is there a copy limit for the year? Is copy paper provided? You want to know if there's a copy limit because the last thing you want to happen is to run out of copies by like February. You may have a copy limit for the month or you may have it for the entire year. I know it sounds weird to ask about copy paper, but I have heard of schools where they do not provide paper for teachers. Any copies the teachers have to make, they have to provide their own paper, which I think is just ridiculous. And if you have to deal with that, I'm so sorry. But make sure that you ask so that you know up front. Am I provided with any funds to purchase supplies? Can I be reimbursed for any purchases? If so, how? I love when people comment on my videos and they're like, did you buy all that? Like, don't you get money? You get some money, but it's not a lot. It's not enough to provide everything for your classroom. And some places you don't get any money. So yes, most of the things I've shown in my videos, supplies I personally have purchased for my classroom. Now, I was lucky enough my first year of teaching, my principal did give me a good amount of money that I was able to get some things for my first year classroom, kind of stock up on some supplies, things like that. But I do know of schools where teachers don't get any funds whatsoever to pay for anything for their students. So just make sure you ask upfront if you're gonna get money or if you're able to get reimbursed and how that all works, just so that you're aware. What supplies are provided for teachers to use? How can I access these supplies? Do they provide bulletin board paper or lamination or staples and tape and basic school supplies? It's just good to know upfront what's going to be accessible to you so that you don't spend your own money on it. Last one for that category, who creates the student supply list and what items are on the list? I just think it's good to know who actually creates the list, whether you get to create it, whether the team teachers all create it together, or the school creates it, or the district creates it. That way you know if you get to pick out the student supplies or if it's just going to be mandated, they come with what they come with and you have to figure out how to use it. You also might want to ask your team teachers whether the students typically bring in the supplies or not. There are some schools where the kids always come with their school supplies and that's amazing. There also are schools where the kids are not going to be able to come with school supplies, so it would just be good to know upfront what you can expect. Next category is communication, and I'm just going to read these all because they all kind of go together. How is school-wide information communicated with teachers? How is school-wide information communicated with parents? Is there a documentation form for parent communication? How are parent-teacher conferences organized? You want to know how you're going to get information from the school, but you also want to know how the parents are going to get information. Does your school do a newsletter that they send out? Do they make phone calls? It's just good to know upfront. I also think it's good just to get information about communicating with parents. Ask your team teachers how they communicate, what is expected with communication, like how often it happens, and do you have to document it? I also suggest asking about parent-teacher conferences. Some schools let you just have conferences as you see fit and as they're needed. Other schools require you to have conferences with the parents like once a term, so just know what you can expect. Now we're on miscellaneous, so these are just kind of some random questions. Is there a teacher handbook for the district? If there is a handbook, I highly suggest reading through it just so you know all of the rules, regulations, and expectations. What professional development is available through the district? Can professional development costs be reimbursed? If so, how? I think it's great to ask about professional development because you should be a lifelong learner. You should set that example for your students, and you also want to make sure you're getting current and relevant information. You also might have to get a certain number of credits within a certain amount of time in order to renew your certificate. Hopefully your district provides you with plenty of free professional development, but you also may want to go out and pay for professional development, and you want to know if you can get those costs reimbursed. Is there a new teacher mentoring program? I would say most districts have this in place for new teachers or first year teachers where they're actually assigned like a teacher mentor or a coach that they can go to, so just make sure you get that information. Is there a teachers union available for me to join? Not every district or state has a teachers union, and it's totally your opinion if you want to join or not. Personally, if you have a teachers union, I would recommend joining just for safety and for security of your job. You have no idea what could happen and you want that extra protection just in case. Okay, those are all of the questions I have for you guys. Believe it or not, I feel like I've been talking for hours now, so if you stuck with me, bless your heart. Obviously, those are not all of the questions that you could ever ask your first year of teaching. I feel like there are literally a million, but I wanted to highlight some of the most common ones. And again, that document is editable, so you can go in and change it to fit your needs. If you do download my free product, please go back and leave feedback. I love to hear from you guys, know what you like, what you didn't like, how you're able to use it. I just love to get feedback, so please go in, leave feedback for the product. I would really appreciate it. Also, if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful and you just enjoy listening to me talk for whatever reason, please give the video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future videos. As always, thank you for watching. I love you all so much. Don't forget to think positive, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video and for supporting my YouTube channel. If you want to check out any of my older videos, you can use the two links right down here. If you want to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future videos, you can use the link right up here. The links to my social media sites and my Teachers Pay Teacher store are in the description box for you, along with my PO box if you are interested. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.